Hello, my name is Vern Hool, and I will be bringing a follow up to the Pennsylvania grand jury investigation. And we will be taking a look at an individual and what he went through. Now, the Pennsylvania grand jury investigation into the alleged systematic cover up of CSA within the Jehovah's Witness organization is brought to you by Fox 43 Witness to Wicked, and I will have a link in the description below. Now, to any of you out there, there's a warning. The following story contains details that some viewers may find disturbing. So here is the story. A Pennsylvania grand jury has recently brought child sexual abuse charges against 9 men, all Jehovah's Witnesses, in what some are calling the most extensive investigation into the group's history. According to multiple sources familiar with the investigation, the Pennsylvania Attorney General's office could soon release a report of the grand jury's finding, which could bring major consequences for the Jehovah's Witness organization. So we're going to take a look at this article, Witness to Wicked, Elder to Apostate. The first time was Wednesday morning, recalled Martin Haw, 46, sitting on his couch in York Haven. Following generations of his family, Haw was a devout member of Jehovah's Witness. In October of 2005, he was a ministerial servant equivalent to a Catholic deacon who helped with routine work around the Red Lion Jehovah's Witness congregation. Jehovah's Witnesses, also known as the Watchtower Bible and Tract Society, has 8.7 million members worldwide, including 1.2 million in the US and 83,000 in Pennsylvania. The religion was founded in Pittsburgh in 1870, breaking with Orthodox Christianity over its focus on Armageddon and separation from the world. At 9 a.m. that Wednesday morning, Haw was at the Kingdom Hall for the meeting for field service when Jehovah's Witnesses pair up to go door knocking in search of converts. He was assigned door knocking routes. He saw a teenage member slip inside the Kingdom Hall along with his 4-year-old daughter. Confused, he followed them inside into the courtroom. He didn't believe what his own eyes saw. He says, "I caught him fondling my daughter." He now said matter-of-factly, "I didn't know what to do. I actually didn't do anything the first time because I didn't know if I saw that." The second time was the following Sunday morning. "My daughter disappeared a second time and I freaked out," Haw recalled to Fox 43. He says, I was really scared because I knew the teenager was there. And then I saw him assaulting my daughter. Even after the third time, another meeting for field service sometime the next spring, there was nowhere to turn for true believers like Martin and his wife, Jennifer Haw. They relied on divine justice rather than secular justice. Martin explained his thinking at the time as the police are controlled by Satan and justices, so we can't get justice for anybody out there. And you see, that's what I used to believe. I used to believe that everything was part of Satan's wicked world. And he even went on to say that. He said, "The whole world is lying in the power of the wicked one," Jennifer quoted from John 5:19. The Haws reported the assaults to the elders and congregation leaders equivalent to priests, but not the police. "You're told to wait on Jehovah," Jennifer said. So they waited 11 years. "I wish it was the child abuse that woke me up, but it wasn't," Martin said. Instead, he went on to become an elder in 2011 at the Red Lion congregation, switching to the Prospect congregation in York in 2013. When Martin did end up leaving in 2016, the final straw was the trashing of religious literature that had been deemed outdated. Haw said elders had been directed to destroy about 400 copies of several books, including You Can Live Forever in a Paradise on Earth, 1983, Reasoning from the Scriptures, 1989, and Knowledge That Leads to Everlasting Life, 1995. All of these books had predicated specific time ranges for when Armageddon or the end of the world would come. You Can Live Forever in a Paradise on Earth, for example, predicted that some of the generation living in 1914 will see the end of the system of things and survive it. These were books that we had studied, revered, we considered them equal to the Bible, and now they were considered trash litter, Martin said. By April 2016, he had left the religion and had been marked as an apostate. To this day, he said his parents won't talk to him. In 2017, the Haws finally reported the sexual assaults of their daughter and revealed the perpetrator, John Logan Haw, Martin's adopted step-cousin. John Logan Haw was arrested in May 2018 and charged with indecent assault of a person under the age of 13. However, because he was about 14 at the time of the incidents, though the charges were ultimately dropped. In order to ensure what happened to his daughter, now 21, never happens to someone else's, Martin agreed to work with the Attorney General's office. He is now one of dozens of witnesses ready to testify before a grand jury that is investigating an alleged systematic cover-up of sexual child abuse within the Jehovah's Witness organization. He says, "I would love to see the headquarters held accountable because it is their policy that has led thousands of young children to be abused and victimized over and over again," he says. The 49th Investigative Grand Jury, as it's officially known, has resulted in several arrests. Between October 2022 and February 2023, Pennsylvania Attorney General Michelle Henry announced sex abuse charges against 9 members of Jehovah's Witnesses, hinting at a larger pattern. Some of these defendants even used their faith communities to prey upon their victims and had to look no farther than their families, Henry said on February 8th. When Fox 43 asked Henry directly whether she was investigating the organization as a whole, Henry responded, "This is ongoing investigation." Several sources familiar with the investigation confirmed it is looking into Jehovah's Witness organizations' alleged complicity in protecting abusers. So this is, I want to stop there. This is what's kind of new is a Crown prosecutor. They're looking right into the organization, right into the leaders, rather than, they're also looking at all the abusers, but now they're going into the leaders, and this is important. So Martin Haw said that his work helped secure some of the initial arrests and will continue to help in the larger investigation. They were also asking a lot of questions about how the governing body works, he said, adding, "The investigation is wrapping up." Dan Kiss, the defense lawyer representing one of the 9 men charged with child sex abuse, said the complaint against his client, 56-year-old Robert Ostrander, was not the result of alleged victims coming forward. The Attorney General's office went into some church records from the Jehovah's Witnesses religion and went and found what they believed to be the allegations, and then went and hunted down people involved and tried to create allegations that otherwise would never have existed, Kiss said. Kiss said he believes Ostrander was singled out to advance a larger investigation. This seems to me in the large part to be Catholic Church Part 2. They're making this about Jehovah's Witness religion, Kiss said, referencing a 2018 grand jury report that revealed the systematic cover-up of child sex abuse at the hands of Catholic priests in Pennsylvania by the Catholic Church. The Attorney General's office said they still could not comment on the ongoing investigation, but did write in a statement, "The relevance of the Jehovah's Witness organization to the investigation is outlined in the grand jury presentments regarding each defendant who had been charged. Those presentments articulate incidents where defendants use their positions of authority within Jehovah's Witness congregations to build trust with children who they later abuse." And that's the end of that report. The next article is a mandate to report. And it reads, the grand jury investigation follows a familiar playbook written over 2 decades of similar investigations in Pennsylvania of the Catholic Church. In 2003, then Philadelphia District Attorney Lynn Abraham impaneled a grand jury that in 2005 delivered a blistering indictment against the Philadelphian Archdiocese complicity in the widespread child sex abuse by clergy. In 2016, then, Pennsylvania Attorney General Kathleen Kane released a 147-page report on a child sex abuse cover-up by the Altoona Jonestown Diocese, concluding the diocese had a dark and disturbing history. Other investigations looked into child sex abuse at Penn State in 2011 and Solebury School in Buck County in 2017. There is no state in the country that has more knowledge about the way abuse operates in institutions than Pennsylvania, said Marcy Hamilton, founder and CEO of Child USA, a prominent national think tank focusing on the prevention of child sex abuse. In 2018, then Pennsylvania Attorney General Josh Shapiro released a damning report that the state's remaining 6 dioceses not covered in the previous 2 grand jury investigation had protected more than 300 predator priests, so 300 priests they were protecting. According to the source familiar with the investigation, the grand jury's final report will likely detail Jehovah's Witnesses' internal judicial system and how it allegedly fails to hold abusers accountable. There's tremendous abuse in the faith that is intrafamiliar, and so many victims in the faith that have been locked in because they're not allowed to tell the authorities. And the proof element is in the church has been so high, Hamilton said, so it's disastrous. In order to trigger an internal investigation, Watchtower requires 2 people to witness the abuse. The standard that in many cases is impossible to meet. In recent years, DNA evidence can be considered as a second witness, but that too is difficult to obtain in many cases. The odds of child abuse, including DNA evidence, especially when you're not encouraged to go to the police right away, is almost zero. It's not going to happen, said Jennifer Haw, the former member of the Jehovah's Witness who said her daughter was abused by another member. Jehovah's Witness United States branch wrote in a statement, and this is what the governing body would have said. Congregation elders never require victims of child abuse nor witnesses to present their accusation in the presence of the alleged perpetrator. The Bible requirement of 2 witnesses is related solely to a religious determination whether an ecclesiastical judicial committee can be formed to determine whether the accused should be expelled from being one of Jehovah's Witnesses. So what they're saying is, in order for them to build a judicial committee to look at this case, they have to have 2 witnesses. That's what they're saying. So back to the article. According to Martin Haw, Jehovah's Witnesses view child sex abuse as a sin rather than a crime, and therefore prefer to deal with the infractions through their internal judicial system. He did not report the alleged sexual abuse of his daughter to the police for 11 years. They said we could go to the police if we wanted to, but, and this is what his statement. He said that we could go to the police if we wanted to, but they recommended that we do not go to them, Martin said. Even though I had doubts and fears, I was still a true believer at the time. So I thought that we would just get justice through the organization, not the legal system. And that's what we all believed. Legal experts said the approach is not adequate under the federal and state law. Whatever is happening within the religious community does not stand in respect to the law that applies to everybody else, said Hamilton. Jehovah's Witnesses United States branch responded in a statement. So here it is. Jehovah's Witnesses view child abuse as an abhorrent and serious crime as well as a sin. Jehovah's Witnesses have an internal scriptural process for dealing with allegations or confessions of the sin of child sexual abuse. The scriptural investigation of this serious sin by the congregation elders does not purport to offer an alternative process to the secular authorities' investigations of allegations of the crime of child sexual abuse. What a mouthful. So they're saying it's a serious sin by the congregation elders does not purport to offer an alternative process to the secular authorities. So it's like they're going along with it now. It looks like. Their statement is that Jehovah's Witnesses view child abuse as an abhorrent and serious crime as well as a sin. And it says that Jehovah's Witnesses have an internal scriptural process for dealing with allegations or confession of sin and child abuse. So what they're saying is we have our own internal process for dealing with this. That's what they're telling the courts. And then they said the scriptural investigation of the serious sin by the congregation elders does not purport to offer an alternative process to the secular authorities. So they're saying their investigation is not an alternative to the authorities getting involved. That's what they're saying here. So I think because this statement is the way it's done, I think that's why the state wants to go inside and do an internal investigation. This is a crappy statement by the Watchtower. And that's just going to get them into more trouble, my opinion. Back to the report. A 2002 BBC report revealed Watchtower kept a secret database of allegations of child molestation. Martin said it still exists. Every Kingdom Hall has documents of child abuse, of drinking, spousal abuse, rape, homosexuality, any kind of thing, drug abuse going back 70 years to the 1950s, he said. When Martin was an elder, he admitted he helped destroy some of those records by buying a paper shredder. Wow, so he was involved in destroying these records. He says, we were told by headquarters to shred all records. The Haws left the religion in 2016, and Martin is now helping with the investigation. He said in exchange for his cooperation, the Attorney General's office offered him immunity from potential charges for not reporting abuse when he was an elder, though he could not be confirmed with the Attorney General's office. The crux of the grand jury's investigation on Jehovah's Witnesses hinges on whether elders broke the law by relying on their internal judicial system instead of the secular judicial system. In Pennsylvania, clergy are mandated reporters, meaning if they have reasonable cause to suspect a child is the victim of abuse, they are legally required to report it to authorities. In 33 states, though, including the Keystone State, there is an exemption for clergy who learn about the abuse during personal spiritual communications, such as confession. Pennsylvania last updated its child abuse code in 2014, leaving in clergy-penitent privilege. This is a privilege that is created by the state. It is not required by the First Amendment, said Marcy Hamilton. Jehovah's Witness elders fall into a gray area because while they are congregational leaders, being an elder is not a full-time paid position. So Jehovah's Witnesses want this clergy protection, but yet no one's full-time. No one's like into this like a priest. None of their positions are paid. An elder is like a dual role. It's a shepherd teacher, but also a judge too in the congregation, said Martin Haw. Lawyers for Jehovah's Witnesses have argued in multiple court cases across the country that elders are in fact clergy and therefore do not have to report confidential spiritual communications. So, lawyers for Jehovah's Witnesses are making Jehovah's Witnesses the same as a Catholic priest. So, how does that feel if you're a Jehovah's Witness right now? Your lawyers are fighting for you to be equal to a Catholic priest, to have clergy status. How does that feel? Because if I was a Jehovah's Witnesses right now, I would run. I would get out. I would get out quick, because that was the big thing. We were not like the Catholics. We were not like the priests. We had no molesters in the organization. We were righteous. But now it's all coming out. And if we read the Bible, the Bible does say everything that is hidden will be revealed in the time that we're living in. And we certainly see that happening. So it goes on to say here, in 2020, the Ivy Hill Jehovah's Witness congregation in Philadelphia asked a Commonwealth court to officially rule elders to have clergy-penitent privilege. The court denied the request, leaving the elder's status undefined. So isn't that interesting? Jehovah's Witnesses United States branch wrote in a statement. Here's from the branch office. It says, Jehovah's Witnesses do not use full-time paid clergy or follow the clergy laity distinction as used by many other religions. See the article on JW.org, our official website, entitled, Do Not Jehovah's Witnesses Have a Paid Clergy? However, elders are ministers who often meet the statutory definition of clergy in the state where they reside, in that they are authorized to hear confessions, provide pastoral care, and solemnize marriages and perform baptisms. So that was from the Watchtower. That was from headquarters. So they're trying to, even though they're saying we're not like clergy, we are like clergy. We do all the same stuff. Defining elders as clergy comes with its own risks. Since clergy, as mandated reporters, must report abuse discovered outside of the spiritual communications, the designation could open up lawsuits against elders who covered up known abuse. Watchtower loves to say that we have no paid clergy. Therefore, they do not have mandated reporting, Martin Haw said. On the other hand, they want to play it both ways. They want all the privileges of the clergy. Jehovah's Witnesses United States branch wrote in a statement, and here it is, right from headquarters, from the governing body. The religion of Jehovah's Witnesses does not shield any perpetrator of child abuse from the secular authorities. Elders will report an allegation of abuse to statutory authorities as required by law. So you know what's happening here? These statements are coming back. These are statements that the Watchtower is making. Now, when this all goes out to court and it gets reviewed, and if all these people come out like Martin Haw, when they come out in court and say, we were elders, we were destroying records, and when they start testifying exactly opposite of what Watchtower says, this is when shit's going to hit the fan in this organization. Because of their lies, bold-faced lies right here. Now, let's get back to the article. Getting ejected from the faith is called being disfellowshipped within the church. Among those leaving, it's called waking up. That's like us. Martin Haw said he wants other members to wake up and change their thinking on child sex abuse within the religion. What I want to see is Jehovah's Witnesses first not call the branch, not call headquarters, and not call the legal department, he said. I want to see every single time they learn of child abuse to call the experts, call the authorities. And that's the way it should be. So that's the end of the article, folks. It was a little bit long. There's a couple videos on there that you can watch. I couldn't play them on my channel because this is all owned by Fox 43. And everyone has a little bit different way of presenting the news. I present it more from a Jehovah's Witness standpoint of view. And we all know how the organization likes to twist things and really try to turn things. But what we see happening here, in my opinion, is all these little statements by the Watchtower coming out, and they're actually going to be used in court against them. And then when all these guys come out and say, no, 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 we were destroying records, we were running them through shredders, this is where it's going to get dicey. And we'll keep you guys abreast as we follow the news on this and keep up on what's happening in Pennsylvania. But this is going to spell a landmark for the whole world. And I think what's ironic is the religion started in that very state. So I think that's ironic. So anyways, folks, until next time, keep living your life with love. And we hope to see you next time.